Good Friday morning. It's about 8:30 right now. 7:30 time. I don't know time apparently. And it's about 7:30 right now. And I'm currently just watching a Squirmy Grubs vlog right now. It's the Is It Weird That I Sit on Her Lap California Part 4 vlog. And I haven't finished this particular video yet, but I don't know why my hair is so weird. So I'm only about halfway through, and I just got past the part where they are discussing where this one Delta employee comes up to Shane and caresses his face without asking, thinking that Shane's a baby, due to the fact that Shane's physically smaller, due to his disability. And this reminded me of a slew of stories growing up that I've experienced, at least in my life. My dad, unfortunately, who's passed a few years ago, was a quadriplegic due to polio. Now, he had been in a wheelchair my entire life. I didn't know anything else in regards to him, so the fact that my dad was a quad, I never thought about it growing up. And I actually have a couple stories in mind, and I'm gonna try and keep his information as limited as possible because he asks me to, at least in regards to social media. My partner has an autoimmune disease where some days he's not able to physically walk as well as others, so some days he'll have a cane, others he won't need the cane, etc. Anyway, I remember once, I want to say I was a teenager. I can't remember exactly how old I was, but I know I was a teenager. So I know I was over the age of 13, but under the age of 17. But I can't remember exactly when in this time frame. I can't remember exactly. My dad and I this is when we were living in Sarasota, down in Sarasota, Florida. My father and I had walked downtown to one of the local restaurants that we used to go to all the time. I can't remember which one. I want to say Marina Jack's, but I'm not 100%. Not that it's pertinent to the story, because if I was under the age of 17, I'm 30 now, 17, over 13 years ago at this point. And so at this point, it's like, anyway, one time my dad and I had gone to this restaurant, just him and I, which we did all the time, I was with an adult, as every minor should be, when they're out, whatever. And we sit down, we get our drink orders, water, soda, whatever it was. And one of the waitresses walks up to my dad and starts just petting his head like he's a freaking dog, and asks me what my father wants for lunch or dinner, whatever it was. The waitress asks me what my dad wanted for lunch, dinner, for the meal. And I just am like, the only thing I knew is I had set the menu in front of my dad so he could see it, and that was it. We were just having a normal conversation that any father and 13 to 17-year-old child is going to have. We were talking about school, we were talking about what I had done in the theater that day, or dance class, whatever. Just normal father-daughter shit. When this happens, and I'm just like, what? Why are you asking me what my father wants? He hasn't told me once like what he was even thinking about getting for dinner, lunch, whatever it was. And we were just both like, we looked at her like she was fucking crazy. Or he, I can't remember at this point. I just remember that it was one of the waiters or waitresses. I was just so flabbergasted because at this point, I had never had that happen. Like, ever. So we were both just flabbergasted by this. Like, what? Is my father not capable of speaking for himself? Now, granted, I've had this happen several times over the years with several different friends who have whatever physical disability, whether it be visual impairment, physical impairment, doesn't matter. I've had it happen several more times over the years. And it's just gotten to be more of just eye roll, ask them, don't ask me, kind of thing. Give them a bit of an education, you know, don't be rude about it. Anyway, fast forward to about March of this year. I am with my partner, and he and I were at a casino. I'm not going to say which casino because I still like to go to this casino. But a casino here within the New England area. He and I had gotten a couple free nights at this casino. And he and I we had spent a good day there at this point. This was our second full day. And we were walking back to the hotel area. Let me just, on the left-hand side of the building, at least when you're looking at the building, on the left-hand side is the hotel. On the right-hand side is the casino. So we're walking back, and there's no easy way to get, there's like one way to get to the hotel area from the casino area, and it's ridiculous. I know this particular casino is still in the renovation process, and they still have a lot of updates to do, and I've written them several extensive letters about how I feel like they can improve their accessibility issues. Anyway, the only way to get back, let's say this is like the shape of the building. This is the hotel area, this is the casino. Now my thumbs are the only hallway for guests to get back to the hotel area. Now my partner has an autoimmune disease, and on this particular day he was having difficulty walking, so we had borrowed a wheelchair from the casino that he can use. Now remember, even me with my bad back, we were all the way over here where my middle finger is. We had to walk all the way from here, all the way back to this end. And that's difficult for both of us, even with me pushing his wheelchair, etc. So respectfully, we were exhausted, and we just wanted to point out the issue to the staff so they can pass it on to whoever runs the hotel and casino so they can make improvements. You know, we just like to, both of us like to be able to pass on this kind of information so they can improve things for the future for others. No big deal. So my partner has his cane sitting in his lap, and he's sitting in the chair. I'm pushing him, we're talking. And we're explaining the issue of how far we had to walk and a couple of the other issues we had experienced that day. You know, just because we had gotten comp nights, we wanted to, you get what I'm trying to say. And we were explaining to them his illness, which it's rare, it's annoying. And this woman that was working there, that was we were talking to two of the hotel staff, excuse me, and, excuse me, geez, that was gross. We were talking to two of the hotel staff, and this woman that had checked us in the prior day looked straight at my partner, who was sitting there with his cane, but you were walking yesterday without a cane. What? 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 My partner and I just looked at each other like, what the what? What? Yeah, he was walking today too, but he's had back surgery and the the bones in his back and hips are degenerating. What? I don't understand. And the other guy the other staff person that was there looked mortified. I just kept my mouth shut because I knew I would make a scene. Knowing myself, I tend to overreact in the moment, but like, what? So, like, the next morning the following night, we see her again, and she's like apologizing profusely, of course, because I think the guy was like, dude, you don't say that. Because as anybody with any sort of illness, chronic illness, a chronic illness is a spectrum. Now, I know this story is completely different than Squirmy Grubs, but it just reminded me of a bunch of these experiences I've had. It doesn't matter where you are with your chronic illness. It's a spectrum. One day I'm happy as fuck and can do anything. The next day I can be depressed as hell and not be able to get out of bed. That's just the nature of chronic illness. Just because you can't see my chronic illness and you can't see my partner's chronic illness, and even if you can see their illness, what? Just, what I'm trying to say is, for those who are normal or on the more able-bodied side, and I know it's difficult for many who aren't ill or don't have a physical limitation. It's hard to understand. And at least for myself, I'm speaking for myself, I'm not speaking for anyone else who has a chronic illness or disability. For myself, I just want you to have patience and be more mindful around those who have disabilities. And for someone like myself who doesn't have an external visual disability that you can see, just try to be more considerate of those around you, because you never know what that person is dealing with. Did the person cut you off in traffic that day? Well, maybe they had a myoclonic seizure where your hand just spazzes every once in a while and you throw something across the room without meaning. Maybe that's what happened. You don't know, and maybe that's why they cut you off in traffic. I don't know. Maybe they have, what's that one illness? Now I can't remember the word. Oh my goodness, it's gonna drive me crazy. There's one illness where, like, you can't control what you're saying, or have like twitches that you can't control. I can't remember the word at the moment. It's gonna drive me crazy. But say that individual with that illness just yells out, "Fuck you," to you. No, they didn't mean anything by it, definitely. Maybe they did, I don't know. I'm not in that person's shoes. Usually, I usually just brush it off. Just brush it off. Because you never know if that person has... You get what I'm trying to say. Anyway, I've made my point. That's all I wanted to talk about, and this video is already like 15 minutes long. So this is gonna be this week's vlog, definitely. So that's all I wanted to talk about, was just be more mindful of those around you. And don't go in the case of Squirmy Grubs, don't go touching people. Don't go touching other people. regardless if you think the individual is a baby or not. I don't know. Just don't touch other people, period. Don't assume. If you aren't sure, ask. I've had several instances, such as the instance with my father, where I've been asked what the disabled person wanted for dinner or lunch or whatever the meal was. Just ask if you aren't sure. And I've had several waiters and waitresses ask us at the table, do I ask the individual with the disability, or do I ask one of the people with the individual? That's fine to ask, in my opinion. If you want clarification on an individual's needs, ask. If you don't want to be rude about asking, just ask about asking. Honestly, it's just better to ask instead of assume, in all honesty. I know there are those who don't like either and want to be treated normally, and that's fine. Everybody's perception on their own disabilities is different, and their boundaries are different than what mine are. I've grown up around individuals with severe disabilities, so to me it's just second nature. And maybe I will try to make more videos on my experiences with those around. I don't know. That's a thought. I'll have to think about that. That's a thought. Anyway, I've made my point. Please continue the conversation down below if you so choose. And I will see you next week. Bye.